If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
Hey everyone, it's Jenn Foster here with the Elite Publishing Podcast. I'm super excited to have Stephanie Woodman here today with us. She is the international best-selling author of Eye Contact Over Truck. And I'm really excited to dive into her author journey and to learn more about her book. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, well, tell us, when did you first know you wanted to be an author?
Well, that's an interesting story. I mean, the way the book came about wasn't a strong desire to be an author. It was a haunting tale and an experience I had that literally haunted me for 24 years. And I didn't really think I could be like a creative author. I've had business and academic writing background, but creative is very different. So when I finally said, I have got to try this and really try it with intent, I discovered a whole new side of me that I actually didn't know. It opened the floodgates of lots of things that I've been thinking about, but never correlated that with actually creative writing. And so this book that ultimately led to now a completely different and wonderful direction in my life.
That's awesome. So you didn't really set out to be an author. So tell us about the experience, like what was happening that all of a sudden you just felt this desire to tell this story? Like 24 years ago, what happened?
Well, I went on a vacation in the 90s to a place that was known as Truck Lagoon. It had been renamed to Chuuk. It's in Micronesia near Guam. And I went on an adventure scuba diving trip to just dive on shipwrecks. Very naive about the significance of the wrecks or the history behind what happened. But my first dive down, I was swimming through a torpedo hole in this ship into this massive cavern that used to be an engine room. And it was like, holy smokes, the reality of it. I mean, it was a ghost town, and that in itself was haunting. And then other events during that whole week, I was on the liveaboard with 4 Germans, 3 Japanese, some of my friends. And it was really a surreal type experience. And so although it started out as this wonderful, adventure, the reality was it impacted me. And so I wrote the first draft in 2000. It wasn't good. I knew it wasn't good, but I put it away because life throws, curves at you. And I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And so I finally, as my son graduated, I retired with the intent of, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to try this. And it was really interesting getting into writing and all the things that you have to learn and emotions that you don't put labels to on your day-to-day life. You have to in a book. And so it made me see much more of myself. If that answered your question, I went off on tangent.
Yeah, that's really cool. I do find that writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, just opens a different insight into yourself, right? And kind of a therapy type thing that's helping you to realize, kind of learning about yourself more. So I love that you found that. Well, tell us, why did you decide to self-publish? Because I know you self-published. Why did you choose that over going to a traditional publisher?
I'll be honest, I attempted the traditional route originally. And it was after I'd queried a bunch of agents and got into learning what you had to do. And then I was sitting in waiting mode. And I don't wait well. That's not a good fit for me. But the nice thing about it is I had to wait long enough that I realized my book wasn't ready. And so I pulled the book and really got into the writing process much more, got some resources, got some help. And it was in that evolution, and the writing was getting so much better. And it was like all of a sudden I went from, what I had was a nice story, that this one's actually good. surprising myself. But at that same time, I was talking with some other agents at conferences and learning about the traditional side. And again, I don't wait well. I'm a little bit more of a control my destiny rather than wait to see. And so then I said, well,
I
I
call
might
that
go.
an action taker. Is what I call
Yes, I'm
it.
very much. I mean, in the engineering world, I was a project manager. You want a project done, give it to me. Trust me, it's going to get done on time, on schedule. So I
Hmm.
said, all right, well, let me learn about self-publishing. And the more I got into it, I really began to enjoy it. So it's like
Hmm.
setting up my own companies, and I would find my resources and formatting, and I found great graphic artists, professional artists, and so it was. I realized it's like, oh wait, I'm a project manager. I can do this. And so
Hmm.
then I just went in search. As I come to a new aspect of the journey, I would go in search of professionals because there's an amazing support system out there for self-publishers. And when
Yes.
once I realized that, it's like, oh, I'm not creating the wheel. I'm going and finding
Hmm.
out the professionals who have done this and pulling them in as I needed. And it really turned out to be, for me, a tremendously fun journey.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
kind of advice would you give someone who is thinking about going the self-publishing route?
That it's extremely doable. There is somewhat of an overwhelming amount of resources, but they're there. And it would have to become a very personal decision. Do you want to be more of a control person like I am? Or are you willing to kind of wait and see, if you can get an agent? That path works for several of my friends. That path has worked well for them. But if you do choose self-publishing, just find your resources to help you fill in what you don't know. And it is extremely doable. It's work,
Awesome.
lots of
Yeah.
work, but it's very doable.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into a little bit of the writing process. So you said you knew some technical writing, but you weren't really a fiction writer. So what kind of writing style did you prefer? Like, was it something where you had to set specific time and do so much per day? Did you type it? Did you talk it? Like, how did you do your writing process?
Mine's purity typing. I have a recliner, like a outdoor patio recliner that I set right in front of my fireplace. And I got pillows and I had my laptop and I leaned back and I would just let my mind go. And so I was not a set amount every day. I was right till whatever was going was gone, was done. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would purge. And so my writing schedule was, well, let's just say it was not unusual for me to get up at 3 in the morning because I had an idea, and I learned the hard way. Don't think, oh, I'll just remember it later. So I would just get up and turn the fireplace on and, lean back and then just let it flow. Because my brain works in the morning, not so much in the
Mm-hmm.
evening. But and I wasn't, this particular book, because of the newness of it and the newness of the process and the evolution and the additional characters and aspects that came on from the interaction I got with people who were kind enough to read the book and give me, this is what's not working here, Steph, so that I could then go and, oh, okay, well, I need to embellish that and so forth. So mine wasn't really an outline in this one. I have another book that
Mm-hmm.
I've almost completely outlined, and that outlining is working well for that one. But for this first one, it was of an evolution of a process and the evolution of me turning into a writer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so my,
I like that.
yeah, I was all over the place. So
Yeah, that's good though. So how did you develop the characters? Because I know that's a struggle for some writers is figuring out, about the characters and how to write them so that people really understand what
yeah,
kind of
that was
person that the
interesting. So
character
my
is.
main character, Nick, to be honest, I did not even have a single individual in mind for him. So it's not like I could pattern him off of other people. One of the characters in the book is me. So that was easy. It was very interesting. And I'd heard from a friend that this happens, that when you finally kind of really get in into the writing, I don't know what, into the rhythm, the groove, whatever the word is,
Mm-hmm.
the characters take on their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I had an initial kind of, who this guy is and Junichi's character, how old and sort of what he looked like and so forth, I did go online and like get photos of stars or people that kind of resembled sort of, but I don't have like in my head a firm, this is what Nick looks like. But I knew what I wanted, how I wanted him to be with his past. And I was fortunate enough because I said I wrote the first draft in 2000. I had my own father was extremely helpful. And then I found a pilot from World War II, a Navy pilot. He wasn't at Truck, but he was really open with me on his experiences and his journey through life. And then I watched so many videos and I went to museums and listened to veterans talk about their own experience. So he became kind of a hodgepodge of everybody that I met, but he still had to be a very good man, but controlled, as many of them were, very controlled with his emotions, but very loving and kind, but very controlled. So, and then Junichi started playing out when I first introduced him, the very first chapter I introduced him. He started when I'm writing about him walking. And so while he was walking, I was creating him. The others just sort of came as they needed to. And
Well, and I like that you did some research. I mean, this is a historical fiction, and you were basing it off of your first dive in Truck. So I think it's great that you went and researched and did that so that it could be a true historical fiction. And when I was reading your book, I just felt like this is a movie. This is awesome. I love this. This is really good. So I really enjoyed reading it. So tell people more about what your plans are. Do you have book signing parties planned, or what kind of other marketing? Let's talk about marketing for a minute. So you did hit international best-selling author. You were #1 in Australia, US, and I think, was it Canada too? Or just Australia and US? I can't remember. But you hit all that on Amazon. And so now, what are your plans for the future of this book, of Eye Contact Over Truck?
well, one of the local bookshops here in Idaho, I stopped by and I met the owner and she was wonderful. And I sort of had to say, I don't know what I'm doing, but she was great. She looked it over and we talked about it and she said she's going to carry it. So yesterday, I think we got a schedule for me to go up there in August to do a book signing up there. And so now I'm learning, because again, this whole self-publishing has been, this journey. And so now I'm in the throes of everything. It's now live, both paperback and ebook, on everywhere except Google Play, and it's in the review process for them. So, but it's live, and I now have to go to bookstores, and so I'm now I've had really wonderful support, wonderful reviews so far. It's sitting at about a 95% 5-star rating.
That's awesome.
On Amazon. So that's been wonderful. But now I'm learning okay, how do I get it out to where other people even knows it exists? So, and I've got a book club who's invited me in. And so not my book club, another person that I know, they like the concept of it. So they've invited me in. So, and just, it's a stepping stone approach to getting it out.
That's great. I like all those plans. And then you had mentioned you are starting an outline for a second book. Tell us a little bit about your next book.
The actual next book is going to be a short story memoir, actually, because it's almost done. It needs some tweaks, so it'll be a few months, and I've got to find, a good cover. I got to go back to my graphic artist and see if he can find a good cover for it. But it's a little memoir about a certain aspect, 10-year period of my life when I was a clown, actually. So but the novel that's outlined, it falls under what I'm going to call literary drama, because some people may say it's a romance, but it really is a drama. And it kind of pulls in other kind of universal, if you think about Eye Contact, it's all about, forgiveness and redemption and anger and grief, and which are all universal emotions. No matter what path they come into our lives, we all face it at some point. You don't get out of this alive without facing those at some nature. The next book that I've outlined, it's also universal emotions from a different perspective that also kind of plays into the romance side of the world. of our lives. So that's that one.
That's going to be great. I'm excited and looking forward to that. Well, tell us where people can go to find more about you and your book, and where can they go to buy it?
Okay, where you can find me is at my website, woodmanbooks.com. And you'll also see that I'm on Facebook and Instagram so far. At both of them are Woodman Books, Stephanie Woodman Books or Woodman Books. And where to buy it? It's ebook and paperback, both on Amazon. Barnes and Nobles is ebook and maybe paperback. I don't know if that channel's made it yet, but it's going to. And then Kobo and Apple. It will be Google Play. The channels to the libraries. So if anybody's interested, they can go to your library and ask them to get it, and they'll be able to get it. So yeah, just about everywhere I can think of. It's
awesome.
It's out there.
Great. Well, we'll put the links up in the show notes. Just go to woodmanbooks.com and you can get the book and learn more about Stephanie and follow her for more of her books that are coming out. Thank you, Stephanie, so much for coming on the show today. And we look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.